Hey guys, welcome to the Thursday night live stream. We are on the ZBrush live stream tonight, and we are on episode 52. I should have that off by heart, but never mind. We are on episode 52, and I'll be right back after this membership video, and we can get straight into ZBrush, and I'll continue on with the armored suit character, sci-fi character. So I'll see you in 1 minute. So, you want to join my membership?
Gotcha. Sign up.
By joining, you won't only unlock members-only content, you'll also be supporting my channel and the growth of the community. Are you ready to do your part?
I'm doing my part.
For as little as a price of coffee a month.
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit.
You'll be able to access all past live streams and get exclusive members-only content.
Yeah, boy.
That's less than 49p a video.
Shut up and take my money.
So if you're ready, join now and become part of this 3D journey.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Alright, so as you saw there, you can become a member of the YouTube channel and you can unlock the Monday tutorial live streams, which we at the moment we've done 2, or we're working on completing 2. The first one was the dragon tutorial, and the other one is the anatomy tutorial, which we're coming to a close with for part 1 of anatomy. I kind of want to split that up a little bit more because it's going to take a long time to do all about anatomy. But anyway, that's the membership, as well as the full-length videos of my past time-lapse videos, accompanied by music, so you can watch it in real time in the background, have it on in the background whilst you do your own sculpts, and hopefully it will inspire you, and you might pick up a thing here or there on how I sculpt things. You can also become a Patreon, tier level 3, and you can unlock the exclusive raptor tutorial on how to sculpt a velociraptor using ZBrush. It's great for beginners and experienced artists, and it's also a great piece to have in your portfolio. I highly recommend it. And as well as that, they are working on another exclusive tutorial on how to sculpt a golem, a rock golem, inside of ZBrush using hard surface and organic sort of sculpting techniques inside ZBrush. It's a great tutorial, comes out once a week. Every episode comes out once a week until it's done. And also with all the documentation files as well. And lastly, I'm having a 30% off on my ZBrush online store. So if you want, you can grab anything and everything for 30% off automatically at the end of the checkout from February 1st to 29th on all products. Right. With that being said, can I just get a mic check real quick? If you can hear me all right in the microphone, that would be great. I'm just going to stick some music on. And let's jump into... Oh, wait, let me put the comments on first. Boom. Right, let's jump into ZBrush. Cool. All right. So, we are currently just working on... Sorry, just going to go down a little bit. We're currently working on this kind of sci-fi concept, armor concept, and I'm just going through it, sort of showing you the sort of way to do a conceptual piece, not a fully rendered or fully usable model for game design. It's kind of the stage before that, where you're doing a bit of a concept, get in front of the director or art director, and you can then see your model and judge whether or not it's good enough to use, and then take it further to fix it up later. But essentially, I'm just going to continue sculpting this. I think I'm going to move down the legs tonight. It's going to be a lot of repetitive stuff that we've already done from last Thursday live streams, but I think it's still pretty good to keep up with, I think. So you can see the full production of this piece. Right, let me just dynamesh this. Just rotate this microphone slightly down a bit. Right, and just check that's not molded in together in the middle. That's good. So yeah, if you have any questions, by the way, please feel free to ask. This is the sort of live stream that you can go ahead and start asking questions and just chill and chat if you like, whilst I continue to work on this piece. I kind of got a few more references for this as well, like other sort of Halo inspired. I know this is AI generated, but I just kind of like the legs, the way the shapes are, not the micro detail shapes, but more the larger pieces. And you can tell that that's kind of a Halo inspired boot there. But so I'm just gonna jump around these images down here a little bit until I find exactly what I want. In fact, I think that one's got quite good shapes on it. Now, I hate doing legs. I think they are the worst things to get right. Oh, let me change the music. Sorry. Yeah. So, as I was saying, legs. I hate doing legs because they are so difficult to get right. So we'll see how we go with this, especially with the sort of techniques that I'm doing. This hard surface technique inside of ZBrush using organic sculpting techniques. It's definitely something to try to get try to learn. Oh, not AcuCurve, backface. Try to get better at eventually. Actually, what I want to do, side view, is mask out the bottom of the boot, and I'm just going to flatten it, and then I'm just going to pull it down. That way it just makes it more like it gives it a bit more of a shape at the bottom there. How's everybody's week been, by the way? I don't know if I've asked this already yet, but has everyone had a good week so far? I think we've got too low a topology to actually do any detailing, sculpting detailing, so I'm just going to leave it as is and just use the move brush and some basic sort of brushes just to push and pull things around until I get good shapes. I think that's the best thing to do right now. Now, what I like to do when it comes to hard surface like this is try to go, like I do with my organic sculpting, I try to go as far as I can using one subtool before I go ahead and then start to split the model up and get more shapes out of it. This way, it just sort of helps with keeping it loose in the sort of sculpting phase. It's kept loose and easy, and I don't have to worry about things getting messed up too much. Thighboit Roig 917 says, "Hello. Do you think it's possible to be a character designer for sci-fi games like Kojima characters with ZBrush?" I'm sure it is. Kojima, I think I've heard of that. Kojima. Games, I guess. Yeah, he did a lot of the Metal Gear Solids, I guess, or Metal Gear games. Yeah, you could, and also that, what was that one called? Where you're just basically going around handing parcels out. Oh, I forgot what it's called. Death Stranding? Death Standing? What's Death Stranding? I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, you can definitely use ZBrush to become a sci-fi artist like that. I mean, it's gonna take a while to learn how to do that, but it's not impossible. Joseph says, found a great comedy show, Shrinking, with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. Is that Jason Segel? Is that the Segel son? What's that guy called? I forgot what he's called. And Harrison Ford, Shrinking. I've seen some advertisements for that. Oh, he's the guy from How I Met Your Mother, isn't he? Yeah, that's that guy. Yeah, he's pretty funny. I like him. Jason Segel. No, I haven't seen it. Again, I don't get much time to see films and shows. I have recently, though, downloaded the Star Trek Voyager game that came out. I recently just started playing it tonight. The first few missions. I tell you, that is a brain. That's a brain fuck. That, like, you're literally in control of everything on the spaceship, and you kind of have to make sure you've got enough energy and all those sort of things so that your ship doesn't go into disrepute, and then you got to maintain everything. I'll tell you what, it's a complex game. It is a very complex game. Definitely not one of those ones that you just could fly around and shoot and kill people. You really have to strategize and think of your next plan, you know, or next move in that game, because I started off and I was sort of going in gung-ho and going to all these resources on the map, areas of resource on the map that you can collect, and then collecting those resources, and then finding out that I spent it all on the ship, and I forgot that you need to use those same resources to get to other sides of the universe and traverse the universe. And it's just like, shit, I haven't got enough energy. And then you have to start shutting down parts of the ship to power parts of the ship. You have to shut down parts, and then you get mutinies with the crew if you don't do certain things that they want done. And it's just like, Jesus. This is going to take some thinking, I think. It's a real thinking game rather than a fly around shoot 'em game. So yeah, I kind of like it. I really like it. It's a slow paced game, that's for sure, but it's very well done. From what I've played so far. Okay, so just going to start to cut. Needs to be... You know, this is probably not the best way to actually do a sci-fi character, this pose. Because the boots are going to be kind of angular, right? They're angling out. What you probably want to do, rather, is rotate the feet inwards, so... basically, you want your feet to be as straight as possible when doing the sort of sci-fi character, because you want to get that symmetry, that nice clean topology on your model. But we're just gonna blast through this and see what we get out of it. I'm not going to be too precious with it. It's trying to find those nice solid shapes in the sculpt at an early stage. If you can find those solid shapes at the early stage, then it kind of helps sort of guide you later on. I don't think they have the Kobayashi Maru situation on that game. Well, I don't think they do. But that's a unwinnable scenario, if I'm not mistaken. As far as my Star Trek knowledge is, because I don't really have that much of a Star Trek knowledge. I just know that I like the Star Trek Voyager series, and that's like one of my favorite ones, just because of the way that the plot line, or the plot in the show, is completely different to all the other shows. So Enterprise, they're just a Galaxy E, or yeah, a Galaxy sort of spaceship traversing the galaxy, so they can always find their way home, right? And then you got Deep Space Nine, which is basically a space station in the middle of the Delta. I think it's the Delta Quadrant. I can't be 100% sure. I never really watched it much, but then you had the situation with Voyager, and Voyager is a special situation because they basically go and get themselves stuck in the Delta. Is it the Delta Quadrant? And They have to find their way home, and they're like 700 million. They are like a 700 light years away from home, and they have to find their way home. And I always found that to be interesting because it kind of it sort of lines up that the bigger arc, right, of the story of the Star Trek Voyager series, is that you have these characters who are desperate to try and get home, but along the way they kind of have to do sort of Star Trek stuff or Starfleet stuff, you know, keep the peace, or if they run out of resources and stuff like that. That's basically all that Voyager is them trying not to run out of resources. Because if you watch it like all the way through from beginning to end, every single episode back to back, nearly every single episode they're complaining about not having enough resources. So that's kind of I guess how the game came about, is that they just decided to take that into heart and make that a major theme in the game. So you have to constantly be looking for resources and also planning out how you're going to use them effectively. So that's why I like it. I also saw some other news the other day that God of War 3 or God of War trilogy, sorry, is getting a remake. So that should be interesting. And there's also going to be using the original voice actor, not from the God of War Viking era or the latest ones, but the one from the actual God of War trilogy that they first made. I think that's going to be a massive hit. And there's also rumors of God of War getting its own TV or film show or film. Sorry, I think it's going to be based in the latest two games, not the old games, but the latest two games. So he'll be an old man. I'm sure that's what's going on, or that's what's sort of set. But I could be wrong. I think they just recently announced the actor who's going to be playing him, but I can't remember who he was because I was just skimming through the articles and I just saw, God of War. That's interesting. Yeah. So we'll see how that comes out. Have any of you guys ever been fans of the God of War series? Got any big fans of the God of War series in here? Either the old version or the new? So you kind of know that the back of the legs here need to have a bit of a gap cut into them, right? This allows for the illusion of plates on the character for bending and stretching and all that sort of thing. So it's very important when you're doing hard surface sculpting that you think about these little things, right? You can't have a character with a hard piece at the back here where the leg bends, right? You're gonna have to think of a way. Now that could either be plates, armored plates going down the knee like that, it's like diagonally or horizontally. Horizontally, vertically, vertically or horizontally, whichever one it is, like that, so that you can give the illusion of an area where it's bendable, right? Because that's just how armor works, especially in these sci-fi sort of characters. You know, they have to have a kind of logic in realism, I guess. Joseph says, would be just I don't have a PS. Ah, wow. I don't have a PS either. No, I never. Oh, I think I bought the PS1 when it came out, and then for some reason I changed my mind about the PC, the PlayStation, and we went down the route of getting the the GameCube. Anybody remember the GameCube? That was a interesting machine from Nintendo. I think they were like the only ones that were dedicating themselves to these mini disc playing machines at the time, and they thought it was going to be a big seller, but I don't think it was. Yeah, I think, and then after that, I went to Xbox, and then I just never went back to anything else really. Now, I always had this. I always had the idea for me was always keep your work machine and your game machine separate, because when it comes to creating things in 3D like we're doing, or these pieces, I always felt that, well, back in the day anyway, especially back in the day, that keeping it separate would mean that I don't waste RAM and drive space for a game. So I always kept my machines separate. That's why I had an Xbox instead of using my computer machine. But nowadays you can kind of run everything on the same machine with the machines that you can buy now or custom make. So it's not as important, I guess. And now you can also use the masking brush, as I'm doing here. You can see you can use the masking brush to pull out panels, just to make it a little bit more interesting as well. Especially at this early stage, it's very fun to do, to get some interesting stuff going with your character. You can also do it at the top here as well with the rest of the body. And it's also a reminder to try to keep your plate armor or your armor design continuous through your character. You don't want to start having really circular or rounded looking topology for the lower legs, and then having a hardened edged look at the top for your torso, because then it doesn't look like it matches, right? You don't want to do that. You want to try to keep it matching as much as possible when you do your hard surface models. So we come down here, make sure it's hard surface, it's got edges to it, edge lines and detail like that. Cut it through there. And this will just act as the sort of soft area on the legs, so the armor won't go all the way up to the groin, right? You'll cut the armor. It's good to have these shapes like this as well. I'll cut the armor around there, and then this will be a fabric type material. As you can see from the this model here, the armor plating is sort of sitting on top, right? So gonna do that as well with my one, I think. Just looking at this piece here, it's got a rounded edge. I probably want to sort of make that a squared off piece instead. Try and get some squared off geometry. I'm also using the Acu curve for this because it helps to precisely pull in edges or points on your model a lot better than normal move brush. The normal move brush will try to pull too much in one go, whereas the Acu curve, if you make the brush smaller, it'll only affect the radius of that a lot tighter. So you can really use it quite well for hard surface detailing and moving things around in hard surface. And a polish brush just to bring everything to the same level, a little bit of smooth, and we can continue on. You're gonna have to get used to using the polish brush as well. polish brush is not easy to get used to, but once you are used to it, it's probably one of the best brushes that you'll have at your disposal as a hard surface sculptor. Now the kneecap as well will be separated, so we just make sure we can get some interesting shapes in here just as a block out for now. So let's say those are the kneecaps there. Then this will come through here. Joseph says, and what do you think about the upcoming Tomb Raider series on Amazon? Wait, there's a lot of Tomb Raider series coming out on Amazon, isn't there? There's a cartoon and there's a film, or is it a TV series? No, it's a TV series, live action. I don't know, man. I think it's a bait and switch. To be fair, I think they're just they're showing the audience what they want the audience, well, what the audience wants to see, right? So you had the sort of, what's it called? The image of Sophie Turner in the original game version clothing or outfit, and it got a lot of good hype, right? It got a good hype for the show, even though obviously, you know, Sophie Turner hasn't got as expected, I guess, from a lot of die-hard fans, expected assets, if you know what I mean. But I think with her voice, they could have maybe changed her hair color. I mean, just for the show, that would have been good. But I think with her accent, a very British accent, I think she's British as well. Yeah, I think she'll be fine. I think she'll be fine in the role as you know, as she is. But then a couple of days or a week later, I think it was a week later, they brought out another sort of image of her. Now, this is not me saying this. This is a lot of people saying it online, with her covering up with a jacket in one of these sort of shots on-set shots, right? Now I know it's an on-set shot, so it's probably one of the scenes from the TV series, and it's just one of those scenes where she's in a cold country and she needs to be covered up. But it kind of got people wondering if it's going to be a bit of a bait and switch. Like they're gonna bait you in with all the memories of Lara Croft, but portray her like that with Sophie Turner in these advertisement shots, right? But then as the show comes out, it'll be nothing like the video game character. It'll be something else completely. So people are a little bit weary because I think a lot of people have been burnt in the past, with Hollywood and their decisions to, especially when it comes to game films. I find they just can't do them justice, you know. I think that Hollywood sort of gets in the way a lot when it comes to film game adaptations, and they really just don't get why the character is so important from a gamer's aspect. They just see dollar signs or you know, production lines and feedback. They don't really care about what the audience wants, really. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think it's going to do great. But I'm happy to be corrected in the future. I wish the best of luck to her, because I mean that's an amazing character to try to adapt. You know, Lara Croft. It's a sort of an icon of the 90s, I guess. So if she can do it justice, then why not? I think they already did her justice though with Jodie. It was not Jodie. What's her name? can't remember her name now. Oh, Angelina Jolie. Yeah, I think they already did her justice. So, you know, we've already had Lara Croft. I guess you could say. Was it great, Lara Croft? No, but we had the character that we wanted out of Lara Croft from an actress. So I think, you know, I'm sure Sophie Turner will do fine, but I don't know. I think she'll do fine, but the studios will just be in the background changing things randomly just to suit themselves. Thibaut, I'm just going to call you Thibaut because it's quite a long name, says, when used trim dynamic for this type of piece. When used trim dynamic is useful for sort of soft, cutting back on an image, so on a model. So if you think of trim dynamic as a knife brush or a knife, right? Let's say you have a blob on the leg, but you want to make these panels a little harder edged. What I tend to do is use trim dynamic first, just to get those sort of facial planes with it, because it sort of trims it back a bit. And then what I'll do is I'll come in with a high poly brush, or the polish brush, sorry, and I'll polish the edges so that they're a lot cleaner and crisper. But the trim dynamic brush is great to use as a tool for sort of smoothing out and flattening a face, really. And you can sort of see that how it works there. You can also use it with the Alt button, and that'll bring the geometry to the level of the plane that you're on, and also lift it a little bit. So yeah, it's quite a versatile brush for, especially for hard surface stuff. Very useful for hard surface. Thibaut says, do you use a lot of ZModeler or classic box modeling in work? I tend to use a lot of ZModeler, sort of character, already established characters or pieces. So you can see here we're using the one from the Lightbox, which comes with ZBrush, as a base model. And I think when you are more experienced, especially when you're more experienced, don't do this when you're not experienced, but when you're more experienced with anatomy and how to use the brushes, then I think you can then start to use, I call them shortcuts. They're just sort of they're already established models that you can use as a base, right? Because you already know how to sculpt from scratch, but you just want to get into the actual sculpting. You don't really want to sit there and sculpt the whole human body just so you can get to the hard surface, when you can just use a already made body as a base model and then adapt it to what you want. Either way, it's not cheating because you're still sculpting. You're still sculpting your idea, right? So yeah, I just see that as a good way to break into things faster, is to use an establishing model once you've learnt how to sculpt properly. Just speeds things up a bit, that's all. Alright. And you'll probably never find a studio, unless it's an indie studio or a model, a sort of new IP, or a very illustrative, stylized, right? If it's a very stylized character in your video game or in film, then you would have to make it from scratch, because it's unique. But the majority of video game characters can probably use a base model from MetaHuman, or the same one from the Lightbox here, as your base model, and then you can adapt it later, right? Okay, so just looking at the calves here. Let's just see if there's any other images in here. Yeah. So let's sharpen these up. At some point I will maybe, because this is a concept, I might not, but I might separate these and separate the leg parts, really, so that you can see just how much cleaner it gets once you start to sculpt them separately. This is really good for your practice as well, right? So it's really good to do it in massive chunks like this, so that you're not focusing on the little details. You're focusing on these big shapes first before you move on to the little details. The little details make up a very small amount of the actual work. They're just like a polished piece, I guess. And a lot of that can also be done inside of Substance Painter. So all that panel detailing and panel lines and stuff like that you see on here. If I just scroll out, you see here, oh, not that one. Let's take this one. So you see all these little greaves, or what do they call them? They have a specific name. They're sort of gizmos and stuff, little switches and dials and nuts and bolts and, you know, bits and bobs that are on the surface of the model. A lot of that you probably won't even do inside of ZBrush. You'll probably take that into Substance Painter and do panel lines and stuff like that on the final model. You just want the big shapes first. So if you can ignore those little shapes, in fact, a good practice would be to take this image into Photoshop, and then let me just make this bigger quick. So a good idea is to take this model into Photoshop, and then take a brush and basically just draw all the big shapes, right? Highlight all the big shapes, so you come out with something that looks like this. So it looks like this, but a lot less detail, because you can see here you still got these lines in here that sort of show panel lines. Those kind of lines that are in there, you could probably get away with doing those inside of Substance Painter, depending on what kind of character it is. If it's a film character, you probably have to make those panels. If it's a main character in a game, you probably also have to make those lines. But if it's a generic bad guy who you fight in the background, so NPC character, you're not going to go into the detail of sculpting each and every single panel like that, because it's just it's a little bit of a waste of time, because you're never really going to get that close to the model, and B, it's not high priority when you're in a studio to do that with an NPC character, like enemy character that you're going to be fighting, right? Because they're going to be, well, dozens of them on the screen, and you'll probably never get really close to them. So you kind of leave that detailing until Substance Painter for that sort of character. But a good one is like this one here, right? I think this is AI generated, but anyway, this is kind of a good example of seeing the big shapes with these sort of panels, right? Those are the things you want to focus on. Don't focus on these lines that are going through this model here on the panels itself. Just focus on the big shapes. This one's just overly done. That's too much panels, but that's AI, so is what it is. Okay, I don't like that there. That doesn't make sense. Why would it go up and then back down, right? So just think about these things as well when you're doing your own models. Would it make sense in the real world? There we go, that's better. Tomorrow says, I've been using posable figures from Daz 3D to speed up the process. It's free and fairly simple. Yeah, exactly. I highly recommend doing that. If you're doing an asymmetrical model for a statue or, you know, something like that, then yeah, why pose it yourself when you can you can go online, find the pose you want in a 3D pose, and then use that and then as a baseline to start the sculpt. Thibault says, any tips on what makes a good science fiction jumpsuit design? You're probably asking the wrong person, to be fair. I'm an organic creature artist mainly. I am not someone who spends a lot of time, apart from my work, if I'm asked to do a character with a hard surface sort of sculpt. But I'd say simplicity is key at the beginning. So making the suit visually attractive to the eye, right? So if we just pop back in here, I'll show you what I mean. So when you look at this, let's take this model here. Hold on 1 second. I'll copy, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Okay, I'm going to take these two models here, and we'll just I'll run you through what I think works and what I think doesn't work, and why AI is confusing for artists. Okay, so if you look at these two models, they look pretty much the same, pretty similar, right? But shape language really helps a lot when you're creating a character. If you look at the one on the right hand side, the AI generated one, you can kind of see shape language going on, but it's all hidden, right? The focus of the eye is just all over the place. There's no rest on the character, so you can't really rest on one piece and take it in and then move on to the next piece. It's all basically it's just noise. Okay, the closest you get to resting areas on this character is maybe the helmet, because your eyes can rest there for a minute before it gets into the chaos again. Maybe the legs and the chest, right? The rest of it is just noise to me, and it's very difficult to pick out. And when you have a character like that, you also have to think about, is this real world viable, basically? Now, if it's a sci-fi suit, I know people are going to say, well, it's sci-fi, who cares, if it's viable in realism or in a real world. It's a made up, it's a sci-fi suit. But in order to bring people into this world you're creating with these suits in sci-fi, it has to be believable. It has to be believable. That's why I said to you at the beginning, when it comes to the legs at the back here, you can see this guy here has got the right idea with his concept. It's broken up into believable sections, right? So the back of the leg here is believable because you could actually believe that leg could bend with that fabric there. Now, if that fabric wasn't there and it was a metal piece that was like this on the right hand side, just a hard piece, how would he bend his leg? How is he going to rotate his hips, his abdomen, his stomach? All these things have to be taken into account when you're creating a sci-fi suit that's believable, because if it's not believable, then people aren't going to believe it. Now, if you're doing mech characters like robotics, the one on the right works fine. Even though there are still rules you have to obey by, the fact that if it's a robot, you can kind of hide the fact that it's got those chaotic pieces in the middle. You could just say it's all wiring and circuitry, right? But you would probably believe this to be a robot more than a person in a suit, because a person in a suit just wouldn't. How would you put the suit on? How would you take the suit off? What pieces move, what pieces don't? Whereas this one here, it's quite simple. It's a guy who's got a spacesuit on, so a fabric suit underneath this armored piece, and then on top of that, the panels. The very big panels on him. So you can see the chest is nice and big. It's a nice rest area. and then the arms are quite big, and they got specific panel armor on them in specific areas, right? So you can see on the wrist here, it doesn't really have it on the bottom of the wrist, but on the top of the wrist is a massive piece of metal or massive piece of greave armor or something. It's more believable. Whereas this one here on the right hand side, it's just one big piece of metal that's stuck to his arm. How did he take it off? How does he put it on? You know, this one's got clasps, it's got rope, it's got like Velcro bits on him that you can take off and buckle in. So yeah, it's more about believability of would it fit in the real world scenario that will sell to people more, that this is this is a suit that's possible. I hope that's helped. Sorry about that. I don't want to go on a tangent too much. So, you know, even I could still work on getting the like other parts of this character to look a lot more realistic and have realism. So even this piece here in the stomach, it wouldn't bend as well, depending on what it is. I mean, this here, so these things here, right? All this in grey now, all this masked out, that could be fabric, right? So let me just let's just put some lines in here so it looks like fabric, right? So now you know that that is fabric, and the pieces on top are hard surface armor pieces, so it's more believable that it could bend and it could sort of stretch and rotate a little bit easier because of that fabric lines that I put in there. If it was just pure old-fashioned armor like this, or like a knight, then it's going to be a lot harder. Even though knight armor can work very well in bending and moving and stretching and all that sort of thing, because each armor piece is specific to the knight, I believe. So they were created with the knight in the knight that they were made for. The idea that a suit like this, which would be, let's say this is a space suit for a spacewalk, right? If you look at NASA's space suits, okay, they're not hard surface, but they all look similar in build. They all look like if you had the same person in the same size as the other person, that person could fit that on and use it. You know, it's not specifically built for that one person, even though they probably are specifically built for one person. But that's by the by. You want to be able to take this off and put it on, and then have another character wear the same suit as yours. If that's like the Callisto Protocol, have you ever played that game? Or Dead Space, those sort of games. Specifically, the Callisto Protocol game, they all wear the same kind of sci-fi suit, spacesuit, and it's all still the same design. So hopefully that helped. I don't want to go on a rant too much. Oh, speaking of making of things, I found a really good website on YouTube. If any of you are interested in how video games are made, like past video games and the inspiration for those video games, there's a we've got a YouTube channel, that's one, called ARS Technica, right? And this is amazing. I really love watching these documentaries. I've only watched a few, but if you want to know how games are made, then check this channel out. because it sort of goes through the biggest games of the century or whatever, the century, and the makers of them. So you have here Gears of War, you got Callisto Protocol. Further down, you start to get into the stories of how these things were made and how these games were made. I think I watched Oddworld the other day, wherever that is. But they've got the Crash Bandicoot origin story. There it is. The Oddworld. That's an amazing documentary. Definitely give that a watch. It's really fun, and it goes through the whole backstory of Oddworld, which is an amazing game as well. Let me just put this in the chat. Control C. I don't know if you can copy that, but I'll put it in the chat. If you want, you can go to that link there, stick that in your own HTTP, and check that out. Badger Milk Zeus, what a name. Says, oh, I love the Dwarf Fortress video. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm only just started to watch them. I've only just started finding them, so I'll go give me some time to watch them. But it's great to have on in the background when you're working on your own models. So yeah, highly recommended. I think the plate armor at the top here is just too much, right? I think this is too much here. I think what I need to do is, you can see on this one here that the actual armor on the legs comes lower down, thus giving room for bending and stretching for animators. So if I cut that whole section off at the top there, now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to sculpt it back and make it look like the legs, right? So I'll just cut that back. Still keep the shape going. I think the shape looks quite good. Again, I am not a hard surface modeler, so I do apologize for any terminology that I'm using wrong, or any of the sculpting that you might be shaking your head at if you are a hard surface artist. But this is just the way I like to do it for conceptual, for concepts. It's just quicker and easier for me. I know a lot of people are probably screaming and kicking their, or punching their screen out, thinking, what the hell is he doing with ZBrush? But it's the only way I know how to sculpt and have fun sculpting hard surface, because hard surface can be, sorry to say this, but it can be quite dull, you know. It can be quite slow work, and I know there's other people out there that love hard surface sculpting, but it's just so slow and methodical for me. Hence why I do it more like a sort of organic creature than I do proper topology, like proper workflow topology at the beginning. Just it helps to break up the monotony of hard surfacing a model. I think it's coming along pretty well. There's loads to do still though. I think this is why I don't like to do hard surface too much for my time-lapse videos, specifically because it takes so long to do hard surface stuff at the outtake. Once you get used to it though, you can speed your process up quite a bit. I'm quite sure I'm doing at the front there, but we'll just leave it as is for now. It might not look the perfect, that might not look so perfect, but it's it's a work in progress. And trust me, when it comes to hard surface, it looks more like a work in progress than organics would for a very long time. Thebol says, I don't like hard surface with classic 3D box modeling. Also retopology. Yeah, actually, I've well, since I've been doing it at work quite a bit, I have actually got quite used to using ZBrush exclusively for the high poly stage, and also sort of retopoing inside of ZBrush. And it's one of those things when you're working on a project like you're at work, right? It just you sort of get into the flow of it, you get used to it, and then you come away from work and you completely forget sometimes. But I have started to use a lot more of the hard surfacing techniques inside of ZBrush to create things for video games and for my work related stuff. So it is possible, it's just not the thing I like to do the most. Yeah, it's a bit of a process, really. This is the same exact process I would do for a character for game. So if I'll show you actually. I think I got that in my portfolio. I can show you. End Dreams, right? So, as I said before, I worked on the game. That was pretty much a lot of the stuff that I did was hard surface because the enemy characters were hard surface characters and creatures, right? And the first one that we sort of worked on was this one, the core enemy, which is this guy right here. And this actually started off, believe it or not, exactly the same way as I'm doing inside ZBrush right now with the sci-fi suit. I actually sculpted this the exact same way inside ZBrush. So as you can see here, this is the block out sort of sculpt. This is what we call a block out sculpt. It's a proof of concept as well, so it's a proof of concept sculpt. You follow along to the concept that you're given, and I came away with this. This would then be shown to the art director or the art leads or whoever's on top, basically. Whoever's the head honcho at the time, and then they would approve it or change things, and you change it quickly. So the best thing about this technique or this way of working is you're not wasting time. You're not wasting time sculpting each individual piece to a perfect design, because it's going to be changed, especially at the very early stages of a project, right? That's a major thing that I took away from doing these characters. So that was the first iteration right there, and then that iteration would then come down to this iteration, which would be, let's say we got sign off for the design. It would then go through to a gray box with color. Right, this is how we work it in our company. So we went for a gray box with color. So what we did was we threw some basic UV maps all over this model. So we Z-remeshed, projected the details, and then we chucked on a bunch of temporary UVs, took it into Substance Painter, and then we textured it with a basic texture, so we can get a color down for the design, follow along to concept. Also seeing what works and what doesn't work with color on the character. And then after that, once that's approved, then we go on to see, there's some concepts for the eyes there that I did. Once that's approved, then and only then we would actually work on the the final model. So as you can see, the one on the right hand side is a lot crisper, a lot cleaner. It's got a lot more crisp edges. and clean lines, and the one on the left hand side is the grey box model that I created to represent in-game. Also, it also helps to give that model to let's say the rigging and animation team, so that they can do that rigging and animation whilst you work on the final model, right? And of course, this is like a test to see if we could do it all inside of ZBrush. So that's the model that we did all inside of ZBrush, and then took into Substance Painter and gave some text, put some textures on them, and then the final model, just some close-ups here. But that's how I did it for that character. I think that's all that there. So essentially, this is what we've come up with right now, right? We've got the same sort of look as the grey box model. You wouldn't spend more than 2.5 days on a grey box model. 3 if there was iterations and changes. So you say about 3 days to sculpt what you just saw, that sort of character, very quick and blocky, with some tertiary details, and then you'd show that and see if they say yes or no to it, and then you would develop it further. So this model right now, in order to hit that mark of a, let's say, 3-day block out, the last things I'd be doing, or well, I would say that this is perfectly fine for a grey box model. The only thing I have to do is make the helmet, make the boots look a little bit more sort of sci-fi, and then just add some shape to the hands. So for the hands, for gloves, I will just come in here with the inflate brush, and I'll just inflate these until they look like gloves, and I'd say, okay, that's a glove, that's done, moving on, right? Knowing full well that I would have to do detailing of it later on, but they're not really worried about that at this stage. So I would make those gloves, I'd make a very basic helmet, and then I'd also just come into the boots here and make them look a little bit more sci-fi. But this would be a great grey box model already. And also, if you've got skills, good skills, you could probably take this into Photoshop and do some kit bashing, paint overs, and give it a bit more of a finished concept look to it if you're the character artist and concept artist on the project. But yeah, so we're about 95%, I'd say 95% there with the grey box model of this character, and then I'd go in and I'd start polishing it further. Shibu says, so there was a conceptual part in your process for this work. For the End Dreams work, yes. For my company work, yes. But for this is just taking pieces, bits and bobs, mainly from this concept, and just going along and sculpting it and having fun with it, really. But for the work, there's always an artist there, a concept artist to help, and you definitely need them, and you definitely want to be friendly with them, because you will be talking to them quite a bit and quite a lot through the process of creating a character from scratch. So there's a lot of back and forth with the concept artists, and they're generally nice people. They love to draw and they love to make concepts. So yeah, they're great people to get on with in the studio, and you'll be getting along with them more than you would your principal artists or anything like that, because they're the ones that create the characters for you, so you probably get along with them more in the end. I don't like that. I want to get some line work going here, emphasizing stuff, maybe. Can we get a cut through here? Oh, we need to talk about what we're going to plan to do after the anatomy sculpt. I think I mentioned that in the last anatomy Monday. I need to think of the next project, and I don't want to do hard surface because I want to keep that to the Thursday live stream for now. So if you have any tutorials, a creature tutorial, maybe a creature tutorial, because we've kind of done human anatomy for a while and I want to move on to some sort of creature design rather. But if you have any thoughts on a creature design you'd want to have as a full-on sculpting tutorial, then let me know in the comment section what it is you think would be good. Thibaut says, do you think that concept design directly in ZBrush is currently booming? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I've seen a lot of AI stuff that can sort of, you know, make concepting obsolete in the near future. I believe, has anybody else seen the speed dance videos on YouTube? Has anyone else seen those yet? Speed Dance 2.0. Got some crazy shit going up with Speed Dance, the latest AI film generator or movie generator, which is kind of scary because of what it's able to do. Yeah, very terrifying, Thibaut. Yeah, very terrifying. So I didn't want to do it, but I thought I'd take a little bit of a gander at the generating from my own images, like that I've painted, right? Generating a photorealistic version of my own paintings, right? And I'm going to just quickly show you what came out of that, because I think it could maybe answer your question, Thibaut, about what if concepting is a viable thing still. Let me just move this to a nicer look. There we are. So bearing in mind, I painted the image on the left and then I generated a photorealistic version of it on the right. So it's my painting. I know it's going to be using other people's work from the internet, but it's essentially just interpreting my own work into an image, a generated image, which I know it's a taboo with artists, but I was just a little bit curious about what it would make. So the first one is this one. Right, so the one on the left I painted quite a few years ago, and the one on the right is what the AI generator gave me as a photorealistic. Now, there were a few things that I had to go in and fix on this character, and I also added a couple of adjustment layers to get the lighting a little bit better, so I tweaked it a little bit, right? But it came out like this, and I think that's why I think that concept art is should be afraid and be wary if they don't sort of adapt to, I guess if they don't try to adapt to AI, or at least try to learn AI, they might be in trouble. Because if I can do that with basically giving an image that's a very basic looking image on the left hand side and putting that through an AI generator and it spits out what's on the right hand side, that should make alarm bells, because that means now that anybody, even a child's drawing, can be generated into what you see on the right hand side there. So that's scary, right? And I'm just wary because it's not just concept art that's going to be going through this hell, right? It's also going to be 3D artists, because there's a video online that I found. I don't know if I have it up online, but there's a video online I found. In fact, I'll just show you another one. So this is another one I did. So the one on the left is mine, and then the one on the right is the AI generated version. You can kind of see why people would use this, because although it is AI slop, and I do admit it is AI slop. It's you only have to fool a couple of people. That's it. You only have to fool the normal people, the normies, in order to, I don't know, in order to sell a product, I guess, you know. So yeah, very scary. But I did, like I said, I did find. I wonder if I've got another one in here. 1 second, guys. Oh yeah, this one. You see? So the one on the left is mine. The one on the right is AI generated. You can see how well. There's some shit that's going on this thing that isn't right. Like this one line here that goes all the way to the Space Marine pad there. That looks weird, right? But give it time, and it will fix that. Also, I had to change the head on that one. This one actually came out quite nice. Like, it interpreted it quite well, which is very scary, because I could never do on the right. But if I could paint the thing on the left as a quick sketch, and then generate it through AI and show it production, that's like, that's the scary part, right? So that's where people are going to lose jobs, but companies are going to be able to push out things faster. Not a fan of it. I highly admit I'm not a fan of it, but it will speed things up, and I think that's the name of the game at the moment with companies, is to speed things up. And finally, this one here, you can see on the one on the left is my painting, and the one on the right is what it interpreted. I mean, it's not a big way off, is it? So, just food for thought, basically. Joseph says, a creature from Doom Games, maybe. Oh yeah, maybe we could do a creature from Doom Games. Yeah. Maybe on the Monday that we start the product or the project, I'll get a bunch of references on a reference board, and then I'll put up for vote on the chat which one you guys want to work on, and we'll do it through that. So it's a democracy. It's a democracy. So we'll put that up as a vote on a Monday and see which one that people want to actually go for, and then we'll look into it. And we'll decide from there. Badger Milk Zeus says, "Yeah, AI sucks, but can't keep your head in the sand." Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, just dabble. I mean, I would say to anybody who's in this industry or is coming into this industry, don't shut it down 100%. Even though it's gonna, you know, you're not gonna be popular at the drinks parties or whatever. Dabble in it. Just dip your toe in it. Just see how it works. You know, don't post any of that as your own artwork. Just sort of dip your finger in there and just see how it looks and how it works, and you know, at least you won't be blindsided when they start to actually roll this stuff out, because I'm pretty sure that they're close to rolling this stuff out in the industry, unless they get legal issues. Thibault says, "Are you pessimistic about this?" Maybe. I'm not sure. It's a managed democracy. Thank you, Sammy Fredo, for that. Joseph says, "Cool." Thibault says, "Do you think that with AI in the field of 3D, it's even more important to develop one's artistic sense and personal style?" I think so, yes. I've had this sort of thought in my head, especially after doing those generated AI images of my own work. It's kind of crazy, because artists today are saying no to AI. They're saying no to you know, the AI sort of apocalypse. That's what they call it. But you got to think about it this way, right? AI is basically 3D to 2D's apocalypse. So when 2D was a thing, or stop motion was a thing, they thought that there would be anything else that would take over from it. And anything that would take over from it would be a blasphemy. I think nothing sells it better than the documentary on how they created Jurassic Park, the T-Rex, for the first film, and how even in the film they used the line, the stop motion artist said a line when he saw the 3D T-Rex, because he was working on the stop motion T-Rex, when he saw the 3D version of the T-Rex walking through the park on the screen, he said, I think he said something like, "I guess that makes us extinct," or something like that. And then they actually put that in the film when they're walking up the stairs in the atrium. The sort of the paleontologist says, "I guess it's going to make us extinct." I think 3D and 2D collectively now are worried about AI taking over. But I guess it's inevitable. Like 3D was for stop motion, I think AI will be for 3D. But if you look at it now, in today's society and today's culture, when you see CGI in everything, right, spitting out at everything in your face 24/7, it kind of loses its je ne quoi. It's spark, you know. And I think we're already getting to that point with AI, but I think that it's going to be to a point where if you saw a film that is stop motion today, you're amazed by it. When you see someone painting on oil canvases in real life, like an oil painting, you're amazed by it, right? It's going to be so much more valuable than digital work. And I think that 3D is going to go down that same route, as well as concept artists. Concept artists will probably start to do more indie stuff, like comic books, their own personal work. There's a lot of people who've done that anyway in the industry. They've gone from being a concept artist to doing their own comic book and getting funding for that, and then doing their own graphic novels or anything like that. Just because they have the skills. So I think you're going to see a lot of concept artists are going to probably be they're not going to be all right, but they'll probably be able to utilize their skills in a traditional, unique way. 3D artists, though, they're going to have to adapt to working with AI if they want to stay in the job, and those who don't will teach, I guess. I guess that's the best way to say it. Because you still need to know the basics of 3D. You still need to know the basics of the programs. Even if AI comes in, you're still going to need to know how to clean a model. You're going to need how to UV map a model, texture it, because AI is not going to be able to do that for a little while. They're probably working on that, but it's not going to be 100% perfect all the time. So, yeah, that's what I would say about AI. Is it's coming. Don't be scared of it. Don't be, afraid of it too much. Just know that you'll have to adapt, like all artists have had to, and still are, in order to keep up with the technology. So, unless you have great skills in oil painting or comic book, graphic novel ideas or anything like that, or indie games, stuff like that, where you're just a small indie game company and you make more money than some of these big firms, because you can make whatever you like and you don't have to worry about stock brokers or stock owners. In fact, I think a lot of indie games now are killing it in the market. So that's food for thought right there. If you can, grab a couple of mates who are 3D artists or programmers and stuff, and make your own company. They both think if UV and retopology are done by AI, that's cool. All that would remain is the artistic and fun part. Yeah, I mean, AI in this way would be cool. Yeah, I'll tell you what, right? It did feel like that for me when I was working in the film industry, because in the film industry, 9 times out of 10 you don't actually retopo or UV map your own model, right? So you'll get your artists, your very, very good artists, ZBrush artists, that will sculpt the model. Then they'll send that to Dubai or Mumbai, where there's another studio where it's kind of like a digital sweatshop, right? Where they would go ahead then and retopo and UV map in. I mean, you would get the model the next day, right? That's how fast they work. Not always great what they spit out, but they get the majority of the work done. And then they spit out the model back to you, the low poly model. And then it's just texturing, rigging, hair, groom, all that sort of thing afterwards. So you don't do, in films, you don't typically do the UV mapping and retopology, unless it's something that needs to be done really quickly. But hero assets, they're normally always sent somewhere else to get that done, so that you can focus on the details and the texturing and stuff like that. But, yeah, one of the advantages of working in the film studios is you don't really have to worry about what do you call it, retopoing. The one thing I like about retopoing though is it's what do you call it? It's white noise, you know? You can just switch your brain off, put a film on in the background, put your favorite music on in the background, and just chill and just retopo and UV map, and you know, it's kind of brain dead work. You just do it. And there's nothing better than what am I doing here? Symmetry on. There's nothing better than looking at your model when it's done and it's retopoed, and you've retopoed it, and it just looks perfect. You know, the UVs look perfect, the model looks perfect in low poly, and you could just sit back and admire it. And then the fun part begins, like the texturing, because texturing is actually part of the fun. I think the sculpting stage, because I do so much of it, I kind of get bored of it a little bit. But texturing is always fun, because you've got the model, you know the model's good, and all you got to do is make it look cool with the really cool textures. Tomorrow says, it's taking me a bit longer to accept AI in the creative world. I still feel guilty about using a bit stock photography in Photobash. Oh yeah, I know. If I'm paying, because I pay for Adobe stock, right? If I'm paying for those images, then I don't care. I'll use them for photobashing. It's no skin off my teeth. Thibault says, so do you think that currently one should avoid trying a career in character art with AI? No, definitely not. If you're dedicated and you want to be if it's the one thing you want to do is be a character artist, then don't let AI stop you from becoming one, right? Because studios are afraid at the moment to use AI because of the potential lawsuits that could be filed against them. So at the moment, they're not really They shouldn't be using AI at all in their projects. And it's kind of a taboo in studios as well. So you'll get sorry, I'm just trying to concentrate on the sculpt here. You'll get artists in studio that if there's enough of them saying we don't want AI art, then or we don't want to utilize AI art right now, because at the moment it's not something that's legally something you can use in the studios and stuff. It's you know, swings and roundabouts until it becomes law, I guess, or it's written into fact. But yeah, a lot of artists are still against using it. So studios tend to side with the artists right now because they need them, really. AI can't do, even though AI can do quite good stuff, it can't do everything. Bad Santa says, I do commercial for big automobile companies and it's forbidden for us to use any form of AI at the moment. Exactly, yeah. Games design, there's no way you can use AI. It's really not something you should be using it for. Now in film, I am not sure, because for some reason the scripts in films are becoming stupider and stupider, and I'm not sure whether it's the screenwriters that are making those or if it's just them putting it through AI and letting AI create it for them, because some of the scripts are just dog shit, I find. I'm pretty sure they don't use it for the actual art direction. I wouldn't think that they'd be stupid enough to do that right now, especially with so many like I said, so many lawsuits and actors being pissed off and about the situation with their likenesses being used and whatnot. I think the majority of people that are using this AI stuff are people in their offices, in their bedrooms, you know, in their spare time, dabbling with it, seeing what they can create with it. Not really aligned with any big companies, so that's why it's so difficult to get rid of it, because anybody can do it, really. So yeah. What's going on? There's black that next year. I might just... Oh, my reference gone. 1 second, guys. There you are. Yeah. If you want to be a dedicated artist, then yeah, don't worry. Like I said, don't worry about AI. It's going to be a while before they'll implement that. And by then you could be a lead artist or a principal artist or an art director, and you never have to worry about AI. I guess that's what a lot of people are going to start to push for in their careers now, especially artists. They're going to start to push for that lead artist role in the companies, because as you go higher up in the company, and as you take on more responsibility, you actually do less artwork. So you do more admin artwork. So lead artists tend to, not all of them, but majority of them tend to do admin roles rather than actual artwork. So they kind of distribute the work amongst the juniors, the seniors, and stuff like that. So you'll probably find a lot of people will start to migrate towards the what do you call it? The lead roles and the sort of art director roles, rather, in order to keep their careers, basically. I don't know what I'm going to do if this happens, by the way. Toro says, apparently Netflix have a second screen clause in their script writing production, which means characters have to continually explain the plot out loud for people at home scrolling multiple devices. That could explain some of the dumbing down. Yeah. Have you ever just turned on Netflix and then found yourself scrolling on your phone? It happens a lot, actually, when it comes to, especially when it comes to the streaming services, right? They like to make shows that are specifically designed to just be background noise in the background. Just like that. Yeah, if they're specifically just made to be background noise makers, and they don't care if they get, you know, if people enjoy it or not. It's just there to be on in the background, because they know that people are on their phones. They know that they are not watching. They know that the more airtime, or I think the way that they do it is by viewer hours, or hours viewed. So even if it's on the background, the revenue for that product is still going through, because they count that as viewership, right? So they can make the biggest load of waffle on TV, and people will just put it on, look on their phones, and then start looking at their phones, because they're not really watching it. And I do that as well. If I'm watching something on the TV and I find it's a boring scene, I'll just look at my phone, because it's just something else to do before the next scene, you know. And we're all guilty of it. Toro says, I spelled there wrong. I'm part of the problem. Oh, God. I'm really bad at typing as well. Thibault says, thank you for the encouragement. Ah, no problem. Not a problem. Yeah. It's a crazy world we're moving into, I could just say. And entertainment, unfortunately, is, I don't know, it seems to have hit a blockage in the development at the moment. And so a lot of the stuff they're spewing out or spitting out is just nonsense. And you'd think that with all the technology and all the writers that go to university to become writers and stuff like that, that they would actually learn how to create something proper, original, you know. But apparently not. They always seem to just copy or reboot something else, because they just run out of ideas. I think there must have been something that happened in recent history, the last 10 years. Something has happened, I believe, that has made everything, well, has stopped all progress of creativity, you know. If you listen to music today, there's normally a sort of soundtrack that's going viral, right? That's using or reusing music from the 90s or the 80s. And they're just spitting out different lyrics. And it's like they can't make their own music. They can't, like, make their own stuff, you know? And of course the film industry, they're just basically playing it safe, and they're just giving us the same old stuff, like from the 90s, but just rebooting it. It's almost like we're afraid to create anything new, which is kind of strange. Am I the only one that thinks that? I must be the only one that thinks that. Get my tinfoil hat out soon and I'll just sit here and start hitting those conspiracy theories. Yeah. By the way, I think that the work that I'm doing on this character right now is probably more work I'm doing on this character than a character concept artist would do for theirs. Because what they'll do is they'll create a character like this, right? Maybe even to this sort of detail, and then they just take it into Photoshop and photo bash it and you know, add stuff on top. So we're actually going a lot further than even a concept artist would do. A great little tool as well is the inflate brush, or the inflate deformation. So if I go here and I go to inflate, don't go inflate balloon, just go inflate. You can inflate panels out quite quickly. See? And you can change it here to the X, Y, Z. So if you say you don't want it to go in the Z, you can turn, whoops, just turn off the Z. That's the wrong one. It's that one I want. And you'll get this instead. Something you might want, something you might not. Looks a bit silly. Maybe I'll have to actually export, project that out or extract that out later. Ah, I hate doing legs. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Oh, good lord. Got so many things here. Hold on. So to part, Thebolt says, yeah, I'm agreed. We leave in the 80s, Jurassic World, Star Wars. Well, we live in the 80s, Jurassic World, Star Wars, Alien. Bad Santa says, Peter Jackson told in an interview that HDR, for example, would be possible these days because no one would take the risk. Would be impossible or be possible. Bad Santa says Lord of the Rings in English. Oh. Tomorrow says postmodernist physiology says there, or is that psycho? No, it's physiology. I can't remember. I'm bad at reading. Says there's nothing new. Perhaps we are living that out for real these days. Everything is bashed together from things that already exist. Yeah, I'd tend to I'd believe that. Yeah, I'm agree. We live in the 80s. Okay, yeah. So to say it, perhaps that's why it feels like nothing has fundamentally changed that much since the early 2000s compared to, say, change experience from the 90s to the 60s. Yeah, true. So sorry to get deep for the second. It's fine. I've been talking for like nearly 2 hours about this stuff, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I have tinfoil hat time, right? Put your tinfoil hat on. I think it's I think a lot of the craziness that's going on and a lot of the repetitiveness that's going on can be linked to the Hadrian Collider. That's the tinfoil hat theory. I think when they switched that damn thing on, something happened and we just went from a high IQ society to just plain stupid society. Something happened when that Hadrian Collider turned on. And they did stuff. I think that's my tinfoil hat theory. There's no way that we became stupider in such a short amount of time. You cannot say that we are stupider people in such a short time. There must be something else. I think it was the Hadrian Collider, or whatever it's called. Maybe I am just stupid. Yeah. Okay. These boots, I'm gonna need to figure this out. They kind of need to be the same shape, like symmetrical. Kind of different to toes and feet, the way they're designed. I don't like this straight line here, although maybe I'll just cut it there, and then I really want to just extract. Let's just extract this. This will be the last thing we do tonight. I'll just extract this and see how this looks. So we'll put a panel in here that comes down the side. Right. Yeah. Subtool. Extract. Turn off smooth. Turn off thickness. Extract it. And accept it. Solo. Display. Double. Turn topology on. Deformation. I'm going to polish this so it gets nice crisp edges. Cleans up those edges. Hadron. Did I say Hadron or did I say Hadrian? I don't know. Yeah, so straighten those edges, and then I'll come up to geometry, unmask, ZBrush, keep creases. Where's keep creases? There it is. Turn off the curvature strength and bring down the topology count. And the can't speak. The main thing when it comes to high poly sculpting and that sort of stuff inside of ZBrush is to work at a low poly. The lower the poly when you're doing hard surface like retopoing or cleanup work, or yeah, like low poly version, the key to it is low poly models, because the lower the polygon count, the easier it is to pick those points and to make them, to clean them up, you know? I think there's like other tutorials online that go into more detail about this sort of technique, which is widely used in the industry. So now it's not going to be perfect. I'm not looking for perfect right now. I'm just looking for a shape to fit in here. You can see how quickly we can make this look a little hard surface, a bit more hard surface. And then if you want to clean it up a little bit more, just go with your masking brush and mask out those points that make those sharp edges, those sharp points on the model right now. So you can see I'm just grabbing those sharp points, 90-degree points or whatever, masking them out, and then coming over ZBrush and ZBrush it. Oh wait, sorry, not ZBrush. Come over to deform and polish features. Yeah, polish features. That'll just hold that hard, sharp line there. So you still get that sharp line, but it'll smooth or sort of smooth out the rest of it, you know, relax the rest of it basically. And I can unmask that, come over to the Z modeler brush, hit spacebar, come over to extrude, and I want to extrude all. Yep, on the faces, and I'll just pull that out like that. And then I can hit spacebar, make sure you're hovering over the line or the edge. Hit spacebar, grab the bevel brush, poly loops, and then I can just make some bevels. Should go all the way around. Okay. That's essentially how you would do retopoing inside ZBrush, like the first steps to doing it. There are other things you need to remember as well, but that's basics of that. Edge polish, just gonna smooth that out a bit, make it a bit harder at the top, the sides. Yeah, these boots need some good old sculpting done to them. Okay. Need to think about secondary forms soon with this character and working in those secondary forms, but I will leave that until next time to work on, because that could be another live stream. Oh, we haven't even done the helmet yet as well, so we need to figure that out at some point. And then we can start to really get into here and do some sculpting details. Just remember, this is a concept. It's not a perfect model. It's not going to be a perfect model. It's something so that we can show to a client or art director. And it's also showing you some basic sort of tools that I use. It's not supposed to be a perfect model. So yeah, some basic techniques, basic tools to use. Inside ZBrush. These legs are weird. Maybe I have to pull them out a bit. I have to think about that. It's getting there though. It's getting there. Okay. Might need to redesign that, but otherwise it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. See, the problem is the legs are straight, but the feet aren't. They're sort of pointing outwards. They're pointing away from the body. They should really be pointing in the same direction, so we should actually move. Grab all this at the kneecap and rotate them forward. Rotate the knees forward and then the feet forward. in order to get it working better. Yeah, needs to be something like that more, so that we can get these shapes correct, because otherwise you're working on a skewed sort of angle rather than a dead straight angle. So you can see we need to pull the heel out. Yep, a lot of cleanup work to do. You can also rotate these. Gonna look strange, but it should help us with aligning these better. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's gonna look a little bit weird because he's standing with his feet straight now. But it's gonna be easier to sculpt the legs if they're standing like that rather than pigeon toes inwards. The opposite of pigeon toe. Cool. It also makes creating the boots, if you wanted to create the boots separately, it also helps to create them with a bit of symmetry, better symmetry, because they're straight on now rather than trying to sculpt it at an angle. So this is going to help a lot more when it comes to seeing the shapes properly. Because it still has the shape of the foot, but if you look at boots, like the actual sci-fi boots or any sci-fi boots, it doesn't have those sort of angles as a toe would. It has a very particular symmetrical design to it. Oh, that makes sense. Right. I'm gonna have to redesign those, but I mean, we got some good shapes now, so I think I'm gonna leave it there for tonight. And what I think we can do next week, no, next week's the portfolio reviews, because it's the last week of the month. So next week is portfolio reviews. We still have a creature we're designing for that portfolio review. So if there's no portfolios that want to be reviewed, then we will just sculpt that creature that we were sculpting. But yeah, so what I want to do with this character, not next week but the week after, is take it into Photoshop, get some renders from each angle, take it into Photoshop and do some paint over work on it, sort of concept it, show you how you can develop the design and the silhouette before you take it further with the sculpt, so that it guides you a little bit more into the sort of path that you want to take with your character. But yeah, I think that's going to be not next week but the week after, and yeah, I think it's gonna be quite fun to do. It's something different. This whole thing is just something different, isn't it? It's not like it's your average, your normal stuff that's coming from me. And also next week we'll do at some point we'll do the vote for Monday tutorial stream, what creature is next to make. So we'll do that next week at some point. as well, because I'm hoping to get the anatomy done quicker, as fast as possible, so we can get on to something else. Because I think we need to move on faster with the tutorial stuff, get more stuff going. But yeah, I want to say thank you to all my members. I want to say thank you to all my Patreon members. There is, again, I'll just relay it again. There is a 30% off on my ZBrush. It's automatic and it's from February 1st to 29th on all the products. So just go to ZBrush. It should be in the links below, in the online store links below, and grab 30% off on tutorials, brushes and models. And I hope everyone has a great week, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. Don't do anything too stupid, or if you are going to do something stupid, don't do it drunk. And I will see you all next week, Monday, for the anatomy sculpt cleanup again. Thank you. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more exclusive content and want to support my work further, then please check out my Patreon page at MLW_creative for more. Also, view past live streams you might have missed in Tier 3 tutorial support, where I will be archiving future streams moving forward. If you are interested in other full-length tutorials, brushes and models, then check out my online stores for more useful content. I would also like to thank all my subscribers and patrons for supporting me for this long. Again, thanks for watching and stay safe.